Hi there, Sarah here again from SH Millinery with another tutorial. And this time I've been asked to talk about veiling. So we're going to talk about all the different types of veiling, what you can do with it, how to use it, etc, etc. And as normal, I should be making things as I go along, and let's hope they turn out gorgeous. So let's talk about veiling in general at the moment. I've got some samples here to show you. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about vintage veiling, not modern veiling. So, I don't know if you'll see this very well. I'll hold it up against myself. This is vintage veiling, very small little squares, beehive shapes. And that's made from natural fibres. Now, this is also vintage veiling. In black, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly steam it so it's not all crinkled up again. And again, if I hold it near me, you'll see it's got a really pretty pattern on it. And again, that's made from natural fibres. Now, the only I love vintage veiling because it's very, very easy to work with, easy to block. It's soft, it's not scratchy, but there are some downsides to it. And one is that moths like it and eat it. So if you're going to keep vintage veiling, I suggest keeping it in sealed plastic containers and checking it now and again just to make sure. Now, this has got a big hole in it here. And when I bought it, it already had that big hole in it. And I've got a horrible feeling a moth has got in there and eaten it. And you'll notice, actually, I just meant to say, you'll notice I've got a fancy schmancy. So I've got myself a green screen. So you don't have to look at my ironing board and the door to my dining room all the time. So hopefully that will be less distracting for my viewers. So that's vintage veiling. And then we move on to modern veiling, which comes in all sorts of widths and sizes. So this red veiling we're going to be using a little bit later on. And I think this one is about 8 inches wide, but it comes in all different widths, lengths, and you normally buy it by the metre. This is the same type of thing, but in white. Might be easier to zoom down on that right now. So again, that's about 8 inches wide. And then, of course, you've got the very wide veiling, often called Merry Widow veiling. So the weave is a lot bigger and it's a lot stiffer than this veiling. Great for very dramatic or big hats. And again, it comes in different widths. Now, the downside to this is it's not so malleable, not so easy to work with as old veiling because it's made of like a polyester nylon type of fabric. So what you have to do is be very careful how you work it, but you can steam it into shape, you can block it, and we're going to be showing that in this video. So first of all, I thought, what can we do exciting with this red veiling that I got as part of a bundle of millinery items, and I thought, well, I'll make something red. Now, what I've decided to do is use this vintage block, which was a handmade block. It's handmade out of buckram and plaster of Paris, and someone's gone to a lot of trouble to make this a long time ago, but I really like the shape of it. Now, of course, because it's a vintage block, it doesn't have a way of standing it on a stand or anything like that, so I've stood it on top of another block so that I can work with it. And then what I've done is I've dyed this sisal straw hood red, and we're going to use this. It's not quite the same red as that red, but I'm not too worried. So I'm going to do this all in one go. I'm going to block everything in one go. So I'm going to steam this. So bear with me. Let's see how flexible that's got. Not enough yet. I'm trying not to do it in front of the camera because it can be a bit clouds of steam. Anyway, so that's going to go over here. Now I'm using a hood because I want a very shallow brim. So let me see. I always get the centre actually in the centre, otherwise your hat's going to look very odd if you don't have it centred up at the top. So I'm going to spin round to soften the sisal straw. I did think of dunking it, but then I thought, oh, because I'm going to be steaming the veiling. So let's see how that's going. Let's see how we're doing. So I'm going to pull it. I'm going to worry about the crown first. So I'm going to get it centralised. Going to get it on. And I'm going to use one of my blocking springs. Now I do show in another video how to make your own blocking springs. So I'll put up a card for that. So you can see, oh, that was a bit small. Hold on. It's just quicker and easier than string. Right. So, you can stop the video for a minute.
Go.
Okay, so what I've done is I've steamed it all around. And as I said, I don't want a big brim on this. If you wanted to make a bigger hat, obviously you would have to use a copaline instead of a hood. But I thought I would put this with this and that will make a nice hat. So I folded up the edge because I'm going to stitch that up. So I thought I'll fold that up now while I'm actually making the hat, so that when it dries it's ready to go. Right, now normally I would pin this brim down, but I'm not going to be doing that because I'm going to be pinning the veiling. Now what I need to do is work out, oh, got bits of veiling everywhere, work out exactly how much, well not exactly, nothing's ever exact in my life, work out how much veiling I want to go round the hat. So I'm going to cut off a piece. Okie dokie. And then I'll move that to one side a second. And what I want to do is steam this veiling. So it's down here. I've put it on a tea towel so that I don't get water absolutely everywhere. Now be careful when you're steaming, because same as with an iron, if it's too hot, you'll melt the veiling. And this is getting caught up in the funnel. Right, so okie doke. And what I want this to do is I want it to be over the, I want it to almost be like an extra part of the brim. If you can see, I want it to come over there. So I'm just going to adjust the back so that they sort of match. It is a bit fiddly this because it takes a while to get it all so it's roughly the right shape and depth. Now this is why I used a block that's longer than my brim, so that I would have a measurement point, so I would know where to put the end of the net. So So I'm just working my way around to get it even all the way around the block. And then I'm going to pin it down. Now once it comes off the block, I can adjust where it's going to be stitched down, but what I want to do now is put a string around it. So that I can pull it in to the hat. Get a better shape. You're probably thinking this all looks a bit Heath Robinson, Sarah, but you know, sometimes you've got to put a lot of effort into things, especially hats. So I want it to come in on the brim. So I'm going to put some pins here and there to keep it from moving up and down. I need to pull that down a bit. Oh, can't get my finger under it. Let me use a pin. There we are. And I'm going to pin round. So I'm going to do that now and I'll come back to you in a second.
Go.
Right, now I need to sort out the veiling at the top. And because I want this to all gather up to the very top of the hat, what I'm going to do is put a thread in. So if you can see there, I'm going to actually start my thread in the little cross section of the net there. And go in and out of the holes. Now this will take a bit of time, so I'll probably speed this bit up. I've gathered them up. Don't worry that it looks a bit of a knot up there at the moment. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to finish the thread so it holds it all together. Any bits that are really sticking out, gather those up if you haven't gone through every single loop. It's best if you can, but I'm just going to use my needle to hold that on the top for a minute because I will be stitching it through to the inside of the hat. Now what I want to check is how it's looking and if there are any sections that I feel need steaming down again. This is why I blocked it with the hat at the same time, because obviously it means that they're both dry at the same time, and it would have been a bit pointless to have blocked the hat and then made it all wet again. Right, so that's going to go to one side to dry, and we shall carry on with other things to do with veiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a running stitch around the curved edge. So I'll just get a needle and thread. Right, once you've done your running thread, you need to work out where that veil is going to fit on the headband. So I'm just going to do a rough calculation. Yeah, so I'm going to just finish off the running stitch and fix it there. Righto. Oh, lost my scissors. Now what we're going to do is stitch that to the headband. So even out the gathers, find your middle point, and then find your middle point on your headband. And I'm just going to pin it for the moment. So Now once it's pinned in place, or well, you'll be stitching it, but I'm just pinning it for the moment. It's going to go onto our polystyrene head and it's going to be steamed into shape. So and what you can do is adjust it to exactly how you want it to look. And then when that's dry, it will look fabulous. There we are. Nice polyester grosgrain. This is not millinery grosgrain. This is just polyester, quite wide. It's 2-inch wide. So what I'm going to do is make 2 bows. So I'm just trying to think how big I want them. You know me. Work it out as we go along. Right. So I've cut a piece there for one part of the bow and I'm singeing the edges to melt the polyester. And I want another piece slightly shorter. So about like that. Singe both edges. Or melt, not singe really. Melt those edges. And then I want my backdrop, which is not much wider than that. So I'm going to cut a piece, again a bit shorter than those. Let's get straight edges like that. And then let's shape the edges. Fold them over again, so they all match up. Cut across, and then we have nice edges. Don't use the lighter for too long, otherwise you'll actually melt it and deform it. You just want to stop it from fraying. Right, now because I want these to be fairly stiff on the top, I'm going to spray starch them. And I'm going to leave them to dry and I'll be back in a moment.
Proceed.
Okay. What I did forget to mention just a second ago is we need a piece to wrap all these together. So what I've done is I've cut a strip. I've put the lighter on either end, but I don't want it this wide. So I am going to be folding it over like that and using it like that. So I'm going to iron that flat. Only iron on the reverse because it will make a mark on the front. Polyester's a bit funny like that. So.
Proceed.
Okay, so now we're going to make my bow for the top. So I'm going to fold it in half to find the middle. This is the longest piece, by the way. So we're taking our longest piece here, folding it over to find the middle, folding either side so they just go over the middle, like so, checking they're all even, and then I'm going to do a running stitch through all layers. Try and keep your running stitch fairly even because when you draw it up you want your pleats fairly even. So we go all the way to the other side and then we draw it up like so and wind the thread round and just put a fixing knot in it. Just there we are. So we've got one part of our bow and I want that down and that down. That's good. Or I could have that up and that up because I want it to bend around the headband. And then we do exactly the same with the shorter piece. again, round, finish it off. We've got, that's the base of our bow, that's the top bow, that's the very top double bow, and then we've got this that should go all the way round. If I've made it big enough. So I'm going to stitch that now and come back. Right, so I've got some Merry Widow veiling here, the large diamond shape, and I've got the finished edge here, and I've cut it a bit shorter than than it was. I need it a slightly different width. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go along here and cut into the net to make V shapes, and you'll see what I mean when I get a bit so that when I gather it up, it acts a bit like darts would in a dress if you were making a dress, and it means that you don't have so much bulk at the top. So I'll try and show you as we go. Oh, my thread's got all caught up, tangled, never mind. Right, I'm going to finish my thread off at the end. Okay. So what I've done, because I've cut those V's in, I don't have so much bulk at the top when I want to block it. So it means now, I'll just get my head and you'll see what I mean. I haven't got all that bulk at the top, and then when I steam it, then I'm going to pin the sides down. Now you can shape the sides as well, but I just want to show you what we're aiming to achieve. Oh, didn't pin it through there. And around this side. Take it off, it will keep that shape. It's too long really, this veil, but there we are. You'll see it when it comes off. Now, the nice thing about veiling is you can add all your own decorations, whatever you like. And I'm going to add some little dots. Now, I tried dyeing normal bleached cotton pipe cleaners because I thought they'd be nice and small, but they've come out very grey, but I'm going to show you anyway. So cut very small pieces into the net and then fold over 3 times. So once, and then the other side over as well, to keep it on the net and stop you having any nasty metal bits sticking in. And then you've got lots, you can put lots of little chenille dots all over your veiling. And you can buy chenille in strip. So I'm going to cut a piece of the chenille pipe cleaner as well. I'm going to start to form it into its 3-fold before I put it on. And again, you just tuck it on and fold it over. Neat and tidy. Like that. So You just fold it on and then pop it onto the net. So as you can see here, this was the red hat with its blocked veiling, and I've stitched the veil down. This was the blocked Merry Widow with the V-darts cut. And this was the vintage veiling with the black bow on top. I hope you've enjoyed watching my video. Please subscribe, like, dislike, and many thanks to my granddaughter who helped film the whole process. Cheers, thanks for watching, bye.